Welcome back, everybody. I'm Louise from Wildflower Wool, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to day 2 of Vlogmas. If you guys have been sitting there and contemplating, do I have time to cast on something to start, knit, and finish, and block, and wrap in time for Christmas? I'm here to tell you that yes, there is still time. It's only December 2nd. We still have the whole month ahead of us, and I've got 4 super simple little tips that will help you kind of figure out what your knitting schedule and how much time you've got and how much knitting you can get done, so you can kind of plan out your time, organize your knitting time, and get a fairly accurate idea of how much you can get knit. So tip number 1 is go for a medium to small project. I say medium still because we still have the whole month of December. Large projects like an Afghan or an adult sweater, I think the time frame, that has kind of come and gone. The window is closed on that, at least for me. You know, if you still have a lot of time, if you have some free days, you've got a lot of knitting hours left in the month, and you think you can start a sweater and you knit fairly quick. And tip 4 kind of will help you figure out if you can still do a sweater. For me, I know I don't have enough knitting hours left to think about starting a new sweater and get it finished and gifted and off the needles before Christmas. So sweaters are out for me, but medium-sized projects, cowls, hats, scarves, shawls, mittens, socks, pretty much anything other than a sweater or an Afghan, we still have time to knit. Tip number 2, go for a medium to chunky weight yarn. And if you're doing socks, obviously you're going to want to use sock yarn. And maybe if you're doing a smaller project like mitts, there's still time to do sock yarn too. We got a little leeway on that, but bigger yarn knits faster. If you don't want to stress, you want to give yourself a little leeway, go for a medium weight yarn. Tip number 3 is keep the pattern simple. This is probably not the time to think, let me try something new. Let me learn how to do brioche and knit a 2-skein shawl and gift it. That would probably, you know, cause a little bit of stress, but keep it simple. Garter stitch, stockinette stitch, seed stitch. My favorite, the mistake rib, or even a broken rib, a textured pattern that is simple that you can, you know, kind of my night proof criteria. You don't have to have the pattern in front of you. You can read your stitches. The row repeat is only like 2 or 4 rows. Something simple, something that you can just pick it up, you know where you are, and you can knit. Something you can knit while you're watching Christmas movies. Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Tip number 4. This is where you kind of take the amount of hours you're going to have to knit and see how fast you knit, and you do a little bit of multiplying. So if you have a scarf, say you want to do a scarf and you're going to make it 80 inches long. What I would do is, with your needles and the yarn you're going to use for the project, sit and time yourself. Cast on and start working that scarf. Time yourself for say 1 inch or 2 inches. And then you are going to do some simple math. If it say took you half an hour to do 1 inch. I'm just making up numbers. It could be, you know, everybody knits at different speeds, so it's going to be different for everybody. But if you say half an hour to do 1 inch, and then you're just going to do that math, 1 hour to do 2 inches, you work that out so you can see how many hours it's going to take you to do that 80-inch scarf. Then you kind of estimate how many hours you're going to have every night to knit, how many days, you know, you get the idea, right? And then you can kind of say, so, you know, if you need to sit and spend 2 hours a night, which is perfect, that's a Christmas movie night. You know, that's how I'm judging everything these days, is how many Christmas movies will it take me to finish a project? And that's a criteria that I'm kind of using to figure out the last gifts that I want to knit, plus my Christmas socks for myself, and kind of juggle it all in, see where I have to be, kind of give myself a schedule, an estimate of how much I need to knit per day, and so many days down the road, I'm going to have a finished project. Fingers crossed. And, you know, hopefully then I won't be stressed. I'll be able to get everything done. Christmas Eve, there won't be any, up to 2 in the morning knitting. And, and then there is always plan B, which is wrapping it up with the needles still in it. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. My family pretty much expects that. If I give them something that's actually totally finished, I think they're shocked. But this could be the year that I try not to do that. I could try to get things finished. That's my plan anyways. And so far, like, what do we have? We've got 22 days left until Christmas. I'm still feeling very optimistic. That is tons and tons of knitting time. So I'm not even stressing at all about my knitting. So perfect example is this cowl. Cowls is a pretty quick knit. This is my double seed stitch cowl, and I am in love with this. Loving that pattern. And I am about a little over half done. I measured this and I think I was at about 13 inches, and I want to go 25 inches. So I know that one evening of a couple of Christmas movies and I should be able to get this finished or pretty close. So even if I gave myself a generous estimate and said 2 nights, because I may get up and do a load of laundry or decide I, need to make a phone call, call my mom and chat with her while I'm knitting. So even if I would give myself, a generous estimate, say 2 more evenings, I will have this done and I will be able to put the buttons on, because this is going to, I'm not seaming it. I'm going to have buttons to close it on this project. So I'm feeling like I could whip out a whole bunch more of these. So no stress yet on this project. Same with my sock. Yesterday I showed you this yarn. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is beautiful yarn. I showed it to you in there was twin socks, I wanted to say mini skeins, they're not mini skeins, but the 2 50-gram skeins. And if you didn't see yesterday's video, this yarn is hand dyed by Heather at Timber Yarns. And the colorway is Holly Berry. And I am in love with this. Look at it caked up. Look at those colors. Oh my gosh. Does that not just look like Holly Berry? The red, the green, beautiful. So I wound up both balls. And last night when I left you, I told you I was going to wind the yarn and I was going to cast on, which I did. So there, ball number 2. I guess technically ball number 1, since this is the ball I'm knitting with. And I also mentioned yesterday that this is a self-striping yarn. And the idea of Heather sending these out in 2 skeins is that you can get perfectly matched striped socks. That's what I want to say. If you make sure you start at the same end on both balls. So if you look at this, ball number 2, I've got my brown end here to start. And obviously I started with a brown end here. And the other end was green. So the skein was tied in 2 places. It was tied with a brown end and it was tied with a green end. And here's the green end right there. So I just made sure that I pulled out this. I mean, obviously, I guess all you need to do is look at your sock and you know which end you started with. But if there's any way to mess something up, I can typically do it. And, I could just see myself casting this on late at night, grabbing the green end and not thinking about it. I don't know, even though it's on the outside, who knows? But anyways, I'm not, because I've made a point of like drilling it into my brain. Brown end, start with the brown end, because I want them to to match, but you know, I could see myself totally casting on with the green, doing 2 rounds and looking at it and being like, what did I just do? And pulling it out and starting again. Anyways, this yarn is a dream to knit with. It feels wonderful. And I can't, it's an 80-20. I was gonna guess, well, typically it's 75-25 or 80-20, and this is an 80-20. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it feels lovely. And I'm already into my 3rd color. Can you see that? At first I thought this was going to be the same as the brown, but it's not. It's more of like a wine color there. I think you can kind of see that, can't you? Like there's a little bit of a purpley color to it. It's really pretty. So I'm excited. So I have kind of in my head figured out where I need to be kind of every day. So I want to have these done for the 24th so I can wear them. So that means 2 socks. This is how I do math. Math is not my strong suit, so bear with me as I like work this all out. 24 days for 2 socks. That means 12 days per sock. Then 12 days, I'm going to cut that in half again to 6. And then I'm going to take 1 day off for the heel. So that gives me 5 days to do the leg of the sock. Day 6 to turn the heel. And then the other 6 days to do the foot, decrease for the toes, and Kitchener stitch. That'll be 12 days per sock, which should be tons and tons and tons of time. And so I'm figuring, I don't know, just roughly like 1.25 inches or something like that I need to do to get the leg done in 5 days, because I want to do 5, 6, yeah, that'll be plenty, because I want to do kind of 6 or 7 inch leg, I think. So easy peasy, right? Right. You guys remember I said that, because come December 24th, if I'm rushing to get my socks done, I don't want to hear, Louise, you had this figured out. Actually, you can't tell me that. It'll be fine. But anyways, I think I'm going to have lots of time. This is how much, I don't know how much that is. Got a tape measure here, I can tell you. It's not looking like a full inch, I don't think. Oh, yes, it is. Barely. Maybe it's 3/4 inch, but I'm close. Even though this is December 2nd, so that means I almost have yesterday's knitting done. So right out of the gate, I'm a little bit behind, but it's not going to take me long to catch up. The idea is that this is not going to take all of my knitting time. I'm going to do my allotted amount per day, set it aside, and then, you know, work on the other gift projects that I have, because I still have quite a few, but they're small. They're like hats and cowls and scarves. Well, and maybe another pair of socks if I can squeeze it in. See, it's still early in the month, and I am still optimistic that, you know, making it a handmade Christmas this year. And I'm still, I think I said in a couple of videos ago that I'm still in this delusional state that I have lots of time. But I do have a week of vacation, so that is really going to work in my favor for getting a few extra projects done. So that is my tips. Keep it small, keep it simple, heavier weight yarn, and then do your gauging of how fast it takes you to knit. And don't think of it as a race, because it's not a race, even though we do have a deadline of Christmas. You know, it has to be pleasurable, and you want to knit some love into every one of those stitches, not the stress of counting the seconds on the clock, right? And we've got time. We can do this. And with a little organization, and especially if you've got somebody that you can delegate cooking, laundry, dishes, vacuuming, that'll give you a little extra knitting time too, right? I think it'll be fun, you know, just figure out plan your evenings, find some Christmas movies, and sit back, relax, and knit. That's exactly what I'm planning on doing. So tomorrow I will show you kind of every day from here on out. I'll give you a little update on the sock, see if I'm ahead or behind. I kind of figure it'll be a little bit of both. Some days I'll be on track. Sometimes I may be a day behind, and then I can catch up. The whole idea is that it's just no stress. So how are you guys feeling about your knitting? Are you starting to stress about it? I loved reading everybody's comments from yesterday's video, and a lot of people who left comments down below here on this video said that they like poinsettias. A lot of people had gone out and purchased. Some had purchased more than they had before. I think Lynn had mentioned that this was the first year that they had some. Her husband went out and bought some. I think they add like a really super festive touch. Now, over on Instagram, when I posted in my stories about are poinsettias necessary in your, like a must-have in your holiday decorating, the last time I checked my stories, no was in the lead. And I thought, how many times can I go in here and vote on my own story to bump up yes to get the answer I want? But anyway, that's okay, because you know what? It's things are different for everybody, right? And I love poinsettias, but I know not everybody's going to, and that's fine. So I pulled out, can you see, I pulled out some Christmas candles out of some of my boxes, and I have a candle cupboard so I pulled out just the red ones, and I have a few white ones, even though they look yellow over here. I saved the silver and gold ones. Well, maybe I'll bring those out for another day, but I do have something really quickly to show you before I wrap up this video. Oh, here it is. This candle, have you ever seen, this is an Advent calendar, an Advent candle. This was stuck in the back of my cupboard, my candle cupboard. And let me tell you, this brought back memories, which I guess this is what Christmas is all about, isn't it? Is the memories. I had two of these because I burned one, and I burned that first candle. I burned that probably more than 20 years ago. I remember the house I was living in at the time. Kids were just babies. I remember the house that we were living in. I remember what candle holder it was and where it was sitting on top of the TV stand. And every night I would light it and let it burn down to the next number until it was all gone. And I got this candle. There used to be a candle making factory up near my parents' cottage. It is not there anymore. And I have never seen a candle like this since. Has anybody seen one like this? Have you ever used one? Because if I could get more of these, I definitely would. But anyways, can you see all of the, I know. This is like a memory from the past. I had completely forgotten that I even had this until I went to pull out my candle holders. Good memories. This is what Christmas is made of. So today's Christmas question is, do you like a real candle, or do you use a battery-operated candle when you're decorating your home for Christmas? You can leave a comment down below, and I will also post in my stories over on Instagram, and you can I'll put a poll in there and you can let me know which one you like the best. Thanks for watching.